Welcome back. I am Brenda Trott, otherwise known as the Make Money in Your Sleep Girl, and today is episode 8 or 9, and we are here with my buddy Ely Delaney. He has 20 years of self-employment experience that he's going to share with us today, and it might not be what let's listen to him, because so many times entrepreneurship can be intimidating. It could be that star in the clouds that you say someday, and it's not always as fast as you want, and it's not always as pretty as you want. So Ely is here to share with you some things that can help you as you evolve into what becomes your business. And before we bring him on, I just want to thank you again for being part of the show. Go ahead, and if you are listening via Apple iTunes, or if you're listening via Stitcher, please subscribe. Same as if you find us on pajamapartyprofits.com. That's where all our show notes are, and YouTube as well. Ely is an author, and that's how we first met. Right after he published his first book, he has joined us with Marketing Tidbits, and now he is launching another book of his that he published not too long ago. So I'm going to let him tell you all about it, but first let's give a welcome to Ely.
Thank you, Brenda. It's my pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to having some fun, sharing some cool stuff.
Yes, I remember reading your book after you have a podcast too. What's the name of your podcast?
The podcast is called Driving Your Marketing. And that was actually, matter of fact, that's how you and I originally met, was that you were looking to become a guest on my show. We ended up having a great conversation, so I brought you on board.
Right. I do remember that, because we were talking about what my focus is, and that is in helping others become published authors. Mm-hmm. But we have similar backgrounds in terms of helping small businesses market their business and that kind of thing, but that wasn't always your original gig. So can you take us through 20 years in a few minutes?
Yeah, and it's entertaining to kind of stop and think that it has actually been that long. My previous company, which technically I actually still have, and that's why it makes it easier for me to say it's been 20 years, because I know how long that business has been around, was a web and graphic design company. And that company, I still have that. I don't take on new clients with them. I've just got a few clients that I maintain. And some of these people have been with me for most of that 20 years. But when I first started, basically, I was working for a small computer shop in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And from there, I actually learned the ins and outs of how to build computers. I was a computer tech. I was basically a geek. And from there, the company was just a small little shop, but we also were a competitor to AOL at the time. We had an internet service provider as well as a repair shop. And so this was back when 56K was just coming on board. So, that whole dial-up modem thing, everybody was all excited because 56K was just coming out. I mean, for those of you that don't understand what that means, you don't understand how blessed we really are. This video that we're doing wouldn't even exist back then. It would take us literally like all month just to have a 2-minute conversation. And so I learned the ins and outs of how the servers worked and how the back end of the Unix programming and stuff like that, and I really got into it. But then what ended up happening was we had people that were asking us about hosting and building websites. And we had a website, but our website was actually really embarrassingly terrible. For lack of a better term, it was awful. And it was, first off, it was with the very first beta version of Microsoft Publisher. So if you've ever used that, it was not a very good program to begin with. But this was the beta version that they sent us on floppy disks. Okay, those 3.5-inch plastic thingamajigs. And so our manager had actually built the website. Problem was that most websites, and even today, not that much difference. You go to a website, you see a homepage and services and about us and contact us and all that stuff. Ours also had page 6, page 7, page 8 because they couldn't figure out how to get the buttons off the template that he used. That's how embarrassing it was. So I actually decided it was time for somebody to take it over. I started learning the ins and outs of HTML, and then ended up falling in love with Photoshop, and that's how I actually started my business. And so That was the first evolution of it. Had a lot of fun with it, and then grew it to the point where we had 5 employees. We were closing 3 to 5 contracts a week, had our own office, all that kind of fun stuff. Then I decided I didn't like it anymore, and decided I enjoyed teaching more, and so that's what I do now, which is the Your Marketing University, writing books, doing podcasts, and teaching training programs on how to market more effectively.
You say it with first of all, I apologize. A lot of your story back when you were talking about Microsoft Publisher, you kind of were glitched there, so I'm not sure how much everyone's going to be able to hear. But what's really clear is your matter of fact when you talk, and that might be surprising to so many people who struggle every day to think about what type of business they could run. Their dream is to work from home, or their dream is to be their own boss, but just thinking about how to make that happen doesn't sound so matter of fact to them. So is it even possible for you, I mean, you've got so many years under your belt, is it even possible for you to think back to taking that really, big step and saying, yes, I'm my own boss?
Yeah, for me, it was a really good situation in the fact that I was a job bouncer for nothing for I'm not really sure what else to call it, but basically I bounced from job to job to job for many years. I've my Before I got into that, I was actually a roadie. I was in the rock and roll business. I started off as a musician, decided I had that whole problem with stage fright, which is really funny considering now I'm a public speaker. But back then I had stage fright, and so I was a roadie. I did lighting, I did audio, all that kind of fun stuff. And then my boss, wonderful guy, but the problem was that he had recreational habits that affected my paycheck, and I'm sure you can kind of fill in the blanks with that. And so I decided it was time to do something else, and I knew the ins and outs of computers. So what ended up happening was I was working for that shop, and I kept telling, we had some problems with the back end system, things that were working, and we were actually losing customers because things were not working properly. And I'd start talking to my employer and say, okay, I've done this research, this is what's going on. And he said, no, that's not what it is. I think it's hackers. And so he kept building all these firewalls and doing all this other stuff and not listening to me. And eventually I finally said, okay, this place is closing its doors one way or another because I keep seeing you costing us business. I got to go someplace else. And I went to another place and got another job. And then that lasted for a while, and then things started happening, and I ended up moving to another job. That place actually ended up closing down the entire department that I was in. And so I kept bouncing and bouncing and bouncing, and then over time I got more confident in my skills, and I realized that I kept running into the situation where I said, I have a solution that would help us grow and help us do better. And the owner of the company would say, I don't care, we're going to do it my way. And eventually I got to the point where I tend to have kind of a snarky attitude, and I let it out. And they didn't like that very much. Bless you.
Thank you. I think there's probably a double reason for that sneeze. If you've heard the old adage, when somebody sneezes, it's because truth has been spoken. That's I don't know if you remember that or not, and I'm kind of dating myself, but I think that you're probably hitting the hearts of a lot of people who are the same way. They're job hoppers, and sometimes they do have that attitude. They can't work for someone else anymore because we call them ourselves virtually unemployable, or psychologically unemployable.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with it. It was that you're unemployable, and I actually had one person that I was working for, and she walks into my office one day and goes, I don't think this is working out. And I said, you know what, I totally agree. My parents are coming in for Thanksgiving. Why don't we make this Friday my last day? I think that would work out really well. And she didn't know how to respond. And we agreed that I was unemployable. I was not in that situation to be able to just sit there and watch a business fall apart when I had a solution, or at least a potential solution. And so I was like, you know what? And I had this happen a couple of different times. So I was like, you know what? It's time. I can't do this anymore. I've got to work for somebody else, because at that point, that's when I realized job security didn't exist. Because it wasn't because I was getting fired ever in any of these positions. It was because I saw the companies starting to fall apart, and I pretty much decided I didn't want to be there on D-Day, and I moved on. And then I realized, you know what, if I'm going to run into a situation where things are kind of scary and I don't know what's going to happen, and I might as well do it with something that I enjoy and do it on my own terms. And
And
so
at that time,
that's,
that was graphic design.
yeah, and that's how that started. And so I started taking on clients a little bit here and there. My puppy's going. And I started taking on clients a little bit here and there, and I still picked up some other jobs for a bit, that were part time there and part time on my own. But eventually, I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I can't keep working for these other places; they're driving me nuts. And so I said, all right, here's it, and I made it work. And the number one thing that I had was the need to learn. And I think that was the biggest thing that was more powerful for me and helped me survive as long as I have, because I have been self-employed for over 20 years. And the reason is because back then, again, we didn't have the internet like we do now. We had internet, but not anywhere as easily accessible or as fast. And so I took it on myself to learn. And what I would do is I went to the bookstores. I probably spent 50 to $100 a month in marketing related stuff, web design related stuff, and personal development. And I just kept soaking up every ounce of information that I could get. And what ended up happening was that's the stuff that fueled me to take me to that next level, to start dealing with how to talk to clients and how to become a businessman instead of just a web guy. Because a lot of times we have that skills. We're great at our widget, whatever that widget is, but we need all these other skills that go along with it, which are communication skills and marketing and project management and things, all these other things. And we go, well, I'm really good at this, and so I'm going to start my own business. But then they end up struggling because they haven't learned these other pieces that are kind of involved. And that's where I feel that I did so well, was that I absorbed as much of that information as I could, and I still do today. I mean, I have 3 books sitting on my desk that are ready to be read at this point.
Okay, so if you're honest though, would you say that you were that lifelong learner and you were kind of prepping yourself, even if you didn't know you were prepping yourself, even
Hmm.
before you went out on your own? Is it
Oh,
possible you
yeah.
were reading some of those books on how to be self-employed even before?
Probably. I don't know that I was very much. I was reading a lot on my industry, so I was learning a lot about Photoshop and how to do graphic design and all that kind of stuff. And then that section in the bookstore, literally you turn around, and that was where the marketing and the sales stuff was. And so I flipped around, and I think one of the very first books. When I started getting into that, there's a couple of books that I picked up really early on. One of them was Guerrilla Marketing by J. Conrad Levinson,
Right.
which to this day is still an amazing book. If you haven't read it and you want to be an entrepreneur of any sort, go pick it up. It's probably one of the best, if not the best book on marketing out there. And I wrote a book on marketing, and I know his is better than mine. I'm just going to go with that. Um, Also, I picked up 100, or I think it's 1,001 Ways to Promote Yourself by Riley Pinsky. And the funny thing is, a lot of people don't know who she is, but she's a brilliant, brilliant girl, and she was really fun because I got the chance to meet her. I didn't realize when I picked up the book, didn't realize that 15, probably around 15 years later, I would end up meeting her and find out that she actually lived about an hour north of me. And so that was kind of fun. Um, and so yeah, you got to have that learning process going in. But then the next phase that I found, and this is what I think is my number two most. I mean, it really is my number one most important thing. But those other things led up to this, which was networking. And that's my topic right now. That's what I talk on. That's the book. The second book that I wrote is Networking Tidbits. I've got a course on it. All this stuff, I'm like pushing it out there like crazy, because everything that I've managed to accomplish in these last 20 years has been around networking. It's about the people that I meet, the connections that I make, and how I can build those relationships that
Yes.
give us the ability to help each other out, because you can't do it by yourself. If you want to be a solopreneur, you can't think like a solopreneur. You got to think like, I'm going to be part of a team. And even if that team isn't employees, they're not in the same place, that could be my team. are the thousands of people that I network with, whether they be online, people that I've interviewed for my show, people that I've met at conferences, my mentors, all of it combined.
We are
That's my
going to be
team.
talking about your book, and we're going to talk about how you made that change from, or maybe not that change, but that evolution and that natural move from marketing into networking. But this is the Pajama Party Profit Show, and we've been talking a lot, and so we need to play a game. Are you ready for a game?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So you said that you were in the rock industry. So
Hmm.
you were, did you play an instrument or?
Originally, I did play. I grew up classically trained in voice, and then I also played bass, guitar, and a little bit of keyboards.
So you played an instrument or two or three.
Yeah. I was primarily a singer, though.
Primarily a singer. Oh, good. Okay, so
But I'm
so
not going
this
to
should be
sing for you.
easy
I'm just
for
going
you
to
then.
let you that right now.
No, I'm not going to make you sing. I'm not going to make you sing. But I do want you to name some songs. We're going to give you a clock here, and I'm going to name a word, and you're going to name as many songs as you can that have that word in it.
Oh, that's okay. This one's going to be a little hard because it's been a while. Okay.
Even if you give me a line, that'll work. Are you ready?
All right.
Your word is sunshine.
Sunshine. Oh my. Yeah, you put me on the wire and I can't think of it. I'm thinking about 10 of them in my brain, but I can't think of the names of them.
What are the lines? What are the lines?
Um, yeah, I'm terrible at like on the spot quizzes like this, so I
And
am not
if
doing
you're
well with
only
it.
listening to this, I'll tell you that Eli's color has changed. I think I might get in trouble for this one. He's a little bit on the red side right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't. I'm drawing a complete blank on this one right now. I
Uh,
should definitely be able to do this one, but my
should
brain
we
is
give you
completely
another
fried.
word?
We can try it and see.
Um, you or
You
love? Yeah, how about love? There we go.
love. Lost Us Love and Feeling. Let's see. Love Bites. Uh,
Isn't
I think
there
that's.
like I love you too? Isn't that one?
Oh, I'm sure there probably is.
All right,
We'll go with those.
we're gonna call that a win. We're gonna call that a win. And the applause. Eli has won the game. I have to. Sunshine over. That's a Beatles song, right? Or is it Sunshine over?
I know which one you're talking about because I was thinking of that one, but I could not think of the name of it. It's like my brain went completely blank on it.
Okay, so in the comments, let us know all the songs that we missed. I'm sure we missed a whole lot. All right, but we broke it up just a little bit, and you're a true sport. So I apologize for putting you on the spot there. It's just one of those things. You didn't lose any money. You won the game. Yay! You did a good job. So we were talking about you have written another book. The first book that you wrote was wonderfully written. It was very to the point. I know one of the things that I tell people when they write, especially in the versions that we're in right now, is people don't want to know what you're going to tell them for you to tell them, and then for you to tell them what you've told them. And you certainly
Mhm.
didn't do that in your Marketing Bits book. Please tell me the right name of that so we can.
It's marketing tidbits.
Tidbits, marketing
Yes.
tidbits. Okay,
Hmm.
so that was really in line with your show and everything that you're showing. People, please check out his podcast too. You're gonna love it. I'm on one of the episodes, but there's some awesome, really great people that I've known, and I was surprised they preceded me on your show as well. So you definitely want to check out Eli's podcast. And now about his new book. That's actually, it was kind of funny when he shared that with me, because that's where I started when I started making products for people. Is I found the experts that I knew in networking and had done
Hmm.
an entire series of interviews with people, and just to share what they've done. And the people that I met through physical networking have done really great things, moved across the country, and were still able to build a business from scratch one that there's a cartoonist that you don't think there's a big need for cartooning, and he was able to build himself a huge business even though he was brand new in town, and it was all through what he did in networking. So go ahead and take us through how you went from marketing to networking, and what you do to help people network the right way.
Okay. Well, and that's, with my graphic design company, that's how I grew the business. Was obviously I'm learning stuff and I'm picking up marketing skills along the way, but a lot of it was actually meeting people. I mean, if you're going to have clients, you have to meet clients. That's how it works. And so I believe I credit this to my mom, because I don't remember positive, but I'm pretty sure it was her that had actually, in a conversation, I had said, okay, I need to figure out how to get more clients. And she goes, well, have you thought about joining your Chamber of Commerce? And I was like, well, what's that? And so she told me it was basically like a business association. And I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And so I did a search, and I found there's a whole bunch of them in my area. And like I said, I don't remember positive, but I'm pretty sure it was her that actually said this, which is funny because she works for Boise State University. She is not a entrepreneur at all. She does not want to be. She's happy in her job. She loves her job. But so I ended up calling a couple of them around, and there was one that I just really felt like I felt comfortable with the guy when I was on the phone with him, and I was like, so would it be possible to find out more? And he was like, well, I can mail you our stuff. And I was like, well, actually, I'm not that far from you, because they literally were right up the road from me. And I was like, can I come by? And he goes, yeah, sure. So I ended up going up there, and I sat down with him. He took me in the conference room. We started talking, and one of the things he said to me was, when it comes to joining a chamber, there's a whole bunch of them out here, and if you're going to try to join all of them and participate and be part of all of them, number one is you're going to have to take out a second mortgage in your house, because it's going to cost you a ton of money. So my recommendation, whether you choose us or another one, is to pick one or two and really become part of it, because when it comes to any kind of networking, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And I totally took that to heart. And so at the time, I had like 2 clients existing at that point. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to make this work. And so I signed up right then and there. And what I ended up doing was I started going to the networking groups, and every time there was an event of any sort, the ribbon cuttings, the mixers, after hours parties, whatever it was, I would show up. And I just basically kept doing that. What ended up happening was I started building that reputation as being Eli, the web guy, and my colors are purple. They've always been purple and silver, kind of a royalty thing, and so that was how it worked out. That I always wore a purple shirt, and so people always knew me as Eli. That's the guy, the purple guy, and so I had the name of the purple guy. And then somebody else would walk in the door, and they would say, so they might walk in the door and say, well, I happen to be a web guy. And go, oh, well, you should talk to Eli. That's what he does. And like everybody would do this, and literally we would have people come in, join the chamber, last 2 months, and leave, because I was so strong in that chamber. And I mean, I felt sad for him, because I wasn't trying to put anybody out of business or anything. It just, I worked hard for my reputation. And what ended up happening was I actually grew the business. Like I said, I grew it to 5 employees, opening up an office, closing 3 to 5 contracts a week. All of those, almost all of those, I had a few that were outside, but all of those were within a 20-mile radius, and most of it was because of that one single chamber. And that is how I grew that business. Oh, you're muted out there, I think. No, can't hear you, sorry.
There we go. Okay.
There we go.
I didn't want you to have to fight my dogs there, so sorry about that.
No problem.
I love your illustration there, because you were able to use local relationships, but you were able to brand yourself as well. And similarly, I wish I was creative enough to come up with pajama party profits on my own, and that's not at all what happened. Through my excitement in what was happening, I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. One day I was teeth whitening, another day I was insurance. I was still trying to throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall. Mm-hmm. But the stories that I shared were about waking up and having to you send products out because I had sold them while I was sleeping, and they are the ones who dubbed me, "You're that make money in your sleep girl." And later on, through masterminds and things like that, the Pajama Party Profits is really what came about. And Brandy, of course, had a lot to do with making sure that we had a game and all of that. So make sure you're using your spouse to their abilities as well. But and by the way, she had a thumbs up for you because purple is her favorite color. So she approves of your colors.
Awesome.
So that's a wonderful illustration of branding yourself, though, as well as building those relationships. I just love it. So tell us about your book, and you also have, is it a university or kind of a program to help people do it right and miss some of the mistakes that you might have made?
Yeah. So the book is called Networking Tidbits. This is actually my proof copy. You can get it on Kindle. You cannot get the physical quite yet. Hopefully pretty soon. I just haven't had a chance to stop and finish up
And
some
hold that
graphic
nice and
glitches.
still. You know better. You're on camera.
All
Hold that nice
right.
and still.
There
All
we
right.
go.
We can go
All
a
right.
little. Okay, go ahead.
So it's Networking Tidbits, 25 quick and easy ways to grow your business through Connect, Grow, and Succeed, especially. And it's all basically little tips type of things. I mean, you've read the other book. This is the same basic thing. It's actually a little bit shorter. It's 25 instead of 50 tips. But it is literally you go through, you spend a couple of minutes reading the chapter, and then go do that thing. And whatever that thing is, it could be why you should have a name badge, or what makes a good business card, how to shake somebody's hand, things like that. And these little tidbits, that's the whole point behind it, is tidbits that will help you become a more effective networker. Then one of the things that I'm really, I see so much is I do a lot of networking. And nowadays, I don't do as much local networking because most of my clients are not local anymore. Back then they were, but now I actually have more clients. It's funny, I have more clients in Phoenix now that I don't live there than I did when I was there. Now I'm in Portland, and I do some networking here, but the vast majority of my clients are either Phoenix, LA, or Australia. And it's still done through networking. You know, we have these online tools that also work. We have conferences where people come in around the world. We have a great big conference here called World Domination Summit. And if you've ever read The $100 Startup by Chris Guillebeau, it's his event. And he gets like 3,000 people from around the world that come to this event. Well, you bet I am there hanging out with these people. Some of these people have become friends. Some of them have become clients. And so the book and then now the course has basically, it's around how to network more effectively, because so many people are networking, and what they think is they think they're networking when they're not working. They're socializing. And so the idea is give us an actual strategy. What is the plan behind what you do? The course that I have is how to network like a rock star. And just to kind of give you an idea, my networking is what's got me. We launched that program the first week of January for 2015. We are now at the end of April as of right now, and we got over 1,070 signups for that program because of the networking that I've done, the people that I've connected with that have helped me promote it, helped me share it out. That's what can come from networking properly. And so that's the course. I have a blast with it. It's one of my favorite pieces of work that I've done because it takes everything that I've spent 20 years putting together and shares it in a very nice, precise box, essentially.
Nice little pretty package for others to pick up and go with.
Exactly.
I love that you shared that you network outside of your general area now. I think that's where so many of us start is local, and then either something like what you shared. There's already somebody there. There's already 16 insurance agents in the room. You know, where am I supposed to go network now? But you're right. There's so many more places. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
There's so many more places.
I got 3 dogs. I totally understand.
Well, I used to start the show with Hamster, but he's become a little snobby, and he doesn't want to be on the camera anymore. So Hamster used to come up and join us, and now he's busy. I think there's somebody mowing a lawn or something, so they're busy alerting us to all of that. But I have to agree. I stopped networking locally because I'm already known everywhere. I can still walk in and several people. As a matter of fact, yesterday I met with a client somewhere, and it's like the networking hub. 6 people said hello,
Hmm.
and they don't even ask me to meet independently anymore. It's let's do a hangout next week because that's
Right.
that's what I do. There's so much. You're right. We've come so far in technology, and we can do things uh, virtually now that are still well connected. We can still look eye to eye, or camera eye to camera eye. We can still see, physical things that we couldn't do on the phone, but we can interpersonally with our computers. And then, communication is so much faster now than it used to be. There's still a reason. Do you still send? Let me ask you this: are one of your tips, because I haven't had the honor of reading this book yet, are one of your tips possibly about follow up with something physical?
I do talk about that. I talk about it in the course, and I don't push. I will highly recommend like a personalized thank you card or something like that. I don't do that as much myself, and I should do more. I'm not. I'm saying that it is a good thing to do. I don't do it as much because I do kind of live in the online world, and so I don't even have a whole lot of paper. That's just kind of part of my world that I live in. Although I do have business cards, I carry business cards, and I go through a lot of them, but yeah, definitely offline, but here's the thing is mix it up. It's not a one or the other. It's like, okay, you're going to send an email, you pick up the phone, you're going to connect with them in social media, so connect with them on Facebook and send them a message every once in a while, and then also add that to the mix. And the
It
cool
just
thing,
makes so much, because so many of us are glued to our texts, our cell phones.
hmm
We're lost. We have to turn around and go back for our phones if we lose them. But
hmm
to get a card in the mail, like, moms don't even do that anymore.
right.
So if somebody sent a handwritten note, it really does make the world a difference. But if you have ever sent off a copy of your book, which you can get very inexpensively,
hmm
that's a great physical item to send to someone who is really serious about maybe doing business with you. It costs less than $5 usually to have a copy of your own book printed. Your face is on there, your name is on there, and now your expertise is being spread around to everyone else who walks into their office. So there's lots of little neat tricks. If you haven't added that one, then I'll have to put that in your
hmm
review.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I have. I have done that. As a matter of fact, I've actually gone to places and with the whole purpose of giving somebody a signed copy of my book. And I said, hey, I just want to come hang out, say hi, see what you got, and I wanted to give this to you just because I have a lot of value in you, and I would love it if you would read it and just let me know what you think. And I'm not asking for a review, I'm not asking for them to endorse it or anything like that. I literally say, this is for you, you're a rock star. I would love to hear your thoughts after you read it. That's it.
Great.
And I've done that. I had a 50-minute drive for a guy just a month ago to go do that because he happened to be in town one night, and I happened to see that he was going to be there literally like that morning. I think it was either that morning or the day before, and I said, okay, yeah, we're going to meet up. And so I drove out to where he was at, and it was a heck of a drive.
So it's
But it was
being
well worth it.
there. Being
Exactly.
there and letting them see. That's awesome. And
hmm
and then the other thing that Eli, that I see that you've done right is create a series. Now you're a serial entrepreneur, or excuse me, a
hmm
serial author, because
Yes,
your first tidbit book, you don't have that nearby too, do you?
I do.
Let's hold those two
Well,
up together and show what you did with
okay.
the graphic design and your covers. You
All
see
right.
how that is a
There you go.
great series right there. They're very similar, different titles,
hmm
clean, both purple. Good job. I'm just gonna let's give them a cheer.
All right.
And
Thank
Brenda
you.
gives you a thumbs up too. Good job on your series.
Yeah. Well, my partner's writing another one, so she'll have one that'll be in the series as well, and I'm sure we'll do more. These are just the starting points of them. I do have ideas for other ones, and even doing some co-branded ones with other people that are experts in areas and bringing them into the franchise and stuff too. That's some thoughts and ideas of stuff that I definitely have on the list.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your expertise with us today. How do we, is someone who's interested in your course or just wants to connect with you, where should they go?
Number one, I am very, very accessible in social media. So look me up, just search for my name. I will show up, trust me. Just look up Ely Delaney, and you can go to elydelaney.com. That's it. Bear with me. That is like my Wicked Stuff child site, but it has all the important links. So always feel free to reach out to me. But one thing for everybody listening, do me a favor. If you're going to connect with me, don't just connect with me. Actually say, hey, I saw you on Brenda's show and wanted to connect with you. And that's a tip on top of the fact that I really appreciate when you do that, because now we have a connection. There's some kind of correlation as to why you want to be friends with me. But then on top of that, if you don't mind, I would love to give away a freebie that's to help people with networking. Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to make sure I have the right link here, because I did not actually stop and do this right. Let's see. I just want to check the link on here just to double check before I give it to you.
Sure.
Make sure. All right.
While he's looking, I'm just going to, a little side fact here. His name is Ely, E-L-Y, but I lived in a town for some years called Ely, and it was spelled E-L-Y.
Ely, Nevada?
Yes, Ely, Nevada.
Uh-huh. Yeah, my girlfriend got a ticket there once. Driving through town in the middle of the night when we were on our way to Arizona, actually. Okay, and FB. I just want to double check, make sure I got this right. Okay, good. So here's the link: ymurocks.com/NFB, and that stands for Networking Follow-Up Blueprint. So ymurocks.com/N as in networking, F as in follow-up, B as in blueprint. And that is my
Perfect. You
networking
want to check
follow-up.
out that free resource, Learn How to Network Like a Rock Star.
Yes, that is a free guide. It's my blueprint to basically give you a whole bunch of stuff. Of course, I would love if you picked up the book, love it if you grabbed the course. But if you're not so sure and you're still trying to get this stuff figured out, go get the free blueprint. I mean, it's my way of saying, please learn how to network more effectively, because it will turn your business around. It's what it did for me. It still does. I can say that pretty much every dollar that's come into my business has been because of the people that I've met along the way.
Perfect. And you can find all those links if it doesn't. If you're having trouble, all those links will be available at pajamapartyprofits.com in the episode with Ely Delaney. Thanks again, Ely. We really appreciate having you.
All right. Thanks so much, Brenda. It's my pleasure. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, reach out and let me know.
You bet.